What are the right tools for making comics? That's one of the questions I get asked a lot by young creators, especially when you're young and starting out. It's easily to get hung up on the tools of the trade. What are the right tools? What am I supposed to use? What if I don't have the right tools? What if I don't have the right kind of paper? All these things. I certainly worried about that quite a lot, too much when I was starting out. So I thought in this little video I would share some of the tools that I use, and really it's not rocket science. So let's dig in. Okay, so what you see here is my workspace, my light box, my big drawing table. Very exciting. I'm just going to turn it on so you can see how this works. Yeah, so the thing about the light box is that you can draw on one piece of paper and then ink on another piece of paper, because you can see through the paper. I don't know how well this translates, but anyway, I'm gonna turn it off because I know it screws with the camera. So I'm gonna turn off the light box again, and yeah. So what kind of tools do I use? Well, I use pens. I use regular pencils like this for when I'm sketching. I sometimes do rough sketches in a light blue. The reason for that is that you can ink directly on top of it sometimes, or if you yeah, it gives you that extra layer of sketching. If, for example, I wanna sketch on a little bit further on this drawing, it's easily visible on top of the blue line. The blue pencil was one of the things, actually, when I was starting out, that I was very intrigued by this thing. When I looked at original artwork on display, I was really intrigued by this idea of this blue pencil underneath it all. Like, what is that for? And where do you find one of those? And but I can't draw because I don't have the right blue pencil. It's really stupid, but it's basically just a pencil in a light blue. It used to be called non-repro blue because it wasn't visible when you photocopied it. Nowadays, I mean, photocopiers are basically like scanners. They pick up everything, so there's not much advantage in that. But then again, if you start inking on top of regular pencil, it can be very hard to see where your inks are compared to the pencil. So the blue pencil is a way for the inks to be clearly visible on top of your sketch. So that's basically it. Yeah, and what do I use for inking? I sometimes use these. I don't know if you can get them out in the rest of the world, but that's where they are here. It's called Statler permanent markers. They're actually made for drawing on CDs and plastic and stuff like that. The reason why I use them is because they bleed quite a bit. So when you ink, you can vary the line quite a bit just by pressing a little harder. So they kind of work like a brush in that way, and also it bleeds like a little bit. So the longer you let it stay, the slower you draw, the more it's going to bleed. And I really like the idea of drawing really fast. And when you draw really fast, then it doesn't bleed. So and with these, you really have to draw really fast for it not to bleed. So that kind of puts a rocket up my behind. That's a good little motivational thing for me, that I have to draw fast, otherwise it will bleed. So I use those. Obviously, for thicker lines, I use different kinds of bigger markers. I know these are available everywhere, Sharpies. So if you want to add some extra blackness to it, or thicker lines, yeah, I use those sometimes. For borders, obviously you need a ruler, so I have one of those. Whoa, jump cut. I don't know what happened. My phone just stopped filming for no reason. What I wanted to show you was that I don't always ink with markers. I sometimes ink with just a regular pencil, actually. This has all been drawn with the regular pencils. Obviously, the borders and the balloons have been done and with a marker, but the rest of it is just basically a pencil drawing. What I've done here is I've tried to demonstrate my my other way of doing corrections. In this case, I pushed it to Photoshop and did all my corrections there after the fact. But if I had so decided, I could have used these acrylic markers that, as I've been showing here, you can actually make a very fine line that covers most inks. So had I made a mistake and wanted to erase it, I could just use these. I use those a lot for inks, not so much pencil, because obviously if I make a mistake in pencil, I can just erase it. So yeah, it's a nice feature. Then I adjust the contrast of the drawings in Photoshop, and so that they end up looking something like this. Obviously, this has all been painted with watercolor. I use these watercolors called Ecoline. Don't know if you can get them where you are, but look online for those. And the advantage of these is that it's liquid, so you can easily mix the color that you need, your palette, so to speak. You can mix that ahead of time. So I even wrote down stiletto on the lid of this one, so I can remember what color is in this, and that is a mix of gray and yellow, and that's what basically the color tone for this entire book is done that way. And the other advantage of Ecoline watercolor is that it's easily applied. It doesn't. Yeah, it's easier to get a big, nice, even surface with these watercolors. So those are the tools that I use. I do have one special trick for you, though, a bit of secret sauce. Are you ready for this? I drink a lot of coffee.